Welcome to Acting 101, which is a monthly podcast featuring myself, Alana Pierce, Ben Starr, Erica Ishii, and Abubakar Salim. The show is about all things acting from the perspective of some very cool voice and video game actors. And it is entirely supported by our supporters on Patreon. They also get to ask special questions for episodes, and got an extra 5 minutes at the top of this particular episode. So if you would like to support the show, check us out on Patreon.
Hello, everyone. I'm Alana, and welcome to an in-person episode of the show that we think is called Acting 101, featuring Rahul. Erica is in New York doing cool Erica stuff. We have a soundboard. There's banjo. Okay, I think maybe that's enough.
One more.
Go on, do it. Go on. Go ahead. Oh.
Oh, wow.
Oh.
This is great.
Wow. Look at you go.
Wow.
Makes me think I'm in LA.
Yeah, welcome to LA. You guys are here for the Game Awards.
We
This episode will not go up until post-Game Awards. So how was it?
It was incredible.
What happened?
How was the Game Awards?
Yep.
Games were awarded.
Someone went on the stage that shouldn't have.
Yep. Oh, that was embarrassing.
Games were shown.
Yeah, Astrobot sweep.
Yep.
Do you think so?
I think
I hope
Astrobot
so.
might win Game of the Year.
I think
Yeah.
it's going to, no way. I think it's going to be like Zenless Zero, whatever that.
Or Metaphor.
Zenless Zone Zero.
It definitely
no,
won't be
no.
Metaphor.
Or
I've
Black Myth.
predicted it right the last 6 years in a row.
Wow.
Yes.
Are you like those predicting turtles that kind of like go towards, when they go like, a fish has predicted the American election. And they're like, wow.
What are you talking about?
Have you
I know
oh
what
my
he's talking
God.
about. They get an animal to predict like World Cup winners.
Yeah.
What?
And it's
Like an octopus.
yeah, they'll be like, whatever animal has predicted this multiple years in a row, and now they predicted, like Donald Trump was predicted to win the American election by like, I don't know, some sort of marsupial eating ham. I don't know.
Wow. Okay, yeah. I'm the Game Awards prediction turtle.
Yeah, the Game
basically, is
Awards,
what-
yeah, fish.
Yeah, we've asked this fish 6 years in a row. She's been right. Also, everybody in the room is English except for Banjo, who's American, and obviously I'm Australian. Nice, good stuff.
There you go, Banjo.
You
Which
can
is
tell
very
this is in
exciting.
person because we really haven't got anywhere near the topic. We're just chilling out.
What is the topic?
Yeah, what is the topic?
What were we
We
going
can
to
talk about
say?
whatever we want. First, Rahul, I don't think you've said anything. Welcome to the show. Who are you?
No, I'm not doing that. Everyone knows who I am, innit?
Oh, okay. Never mind.
Can you tell us a couple of things that you've been in?
Yeah.
Sorry, can you say just to the
Sure.
audience, just in case they don't know
I
who
was
you
on
are?
episode 19 of Supergirl season 2. I was also in EastEnders. I played the chicken shop manager that fired Shirley.
Wow.
Huge.
One app?
These are pretty good
One
roles.
Yeah.
It took multiple apps to fire Shirley.
I was also in Crime Watch. I did a reconstruction of an Indian immigrant who killed his wife's lover with a cricket bat.
Which I'm aware I'm being blocked from the camera right now by Banjo. But we've said before, we have not been able to find this episode, but if you put it out on the internet, maybe we can.
No,
if
we don't need
anyone
to
can
find it.
find the Crime Stoppers episode where Rahul plays an Indian dude who, what was the crime? Thank you, Banjo. Exactly that. Please let us know if you can find it because we'd really like to see it. How is he comfortable? What are you doing? All right, come on then. Over here.
This is too chaotic.
No, it's adorable.
I think it's great.
I'm definitely not on camera, but I prefer.
How are you not on camera?
Because he's blocking me.
Banjo,
Your best
that it matters.
experience behind a dog.
sit.
Oh, good boy.
Come on, sit.
He's so nice.
He's perfect. He's a perfect, flawless man, and I will never criticize him. So we considered talking about maybe Christmas movies today, but we
Yes.
could also talk about a thing we were discussing right before we were rolling, which is
Male body types.
having
Oh,
to
man.
stay lean
Yeah.
to act, which Absy Babsy over here is currently having to do. So you want to talk about that a little?
Yeah.
What's that process like?
It's very... It's
It's
very
fun.
it's-
End of conversation.
Yeah.
We
it's
all
really
love it.
exposing. I mean, like, so again, as I say, like the one time I really had to do it was for Raised by Wolves, and that was a funny experience because it was with Ridley. So essentially, so when I auditioned for the role, I wasn't told that I had to lose weight or look a particular way until essentially like round 3 of 9.
Wait. 9 auditions?
I had 9 auditions.
Oh
and
my
9
God.
Yeah, and
Wait. Sorry. What are they doing differently in each 9?
Oh man, it was okay. So the first round was just a self tape.
Yep.
Simple self tape. Send it through. Do your thing. Second round was meeting Ridley, and what was really interesting though about that second round was when meeting Ridley in his office, he made it sound as if I was basically that. It was my role. It's my thing, and the next 7 rounds was convincing the TNT execs essentially,
Right.
because it was through TNT this show, that I was going to be Ridley's man. But the thing is that I got a text message from my agent being like, "Oh, Ridley wants, he's changing the costume and he's gonna put everyone in suits like this." And essentially, what my agent sent me was a gimp outfit, literally like a gimp outfit, a black gimp outfit, really tight latex.
Is that what ended up being in that show?
I mean, a
gonna say, I
little
don't
bit,
remember- it's
right?
not
It
really a
was
gimp.
it was a silver outfit. But the thing is, it wasn't just the fact that I had to lose weight. Like, Ridley had this mentality of like the android being almost like the perfect machine.
Yeah.
And so, I was I think I was like 100 and what, like 10 kg at the time. And that was in October, November time. And then by the time we started filming in sort of February, I got down to 90.
Wow.
And then went down another 5 while I was out in South Africa.
Damn.
And it was intense because I was getting weighed every week.
Wait.
having-
Okay. So they're weighing. So they give you a weight number.
So no, they don't give you a weight number.
Okay.
So really, what production do, they it's all about the aesthetic and the look.
Yeah. Right. Because a number wouldn't make sense.
A number wouldn't make sense. Everyone's built different. Everyone's different, right? But they have a look. And I remember I was getting weighed every week, but the numbers, they didn't really care about, because there's all sorts of things that you got to account for, like the water weight, how much muscle mass you got, all that kind of stuff. But I remember having a picture taken in my boxes every week, and this was getting shared and sent across all the heads of departments. It was incredibly
embarrassing.
Well, I think the first kind of few moments of it, it was really embarrassing. Like, they're putting me in this latex suit and I look terrible. Like, I'm like, it just, like, anyone normal in a latex suit just looks a bit weird, right? But then after a while, you kind of just start shutting it out, and you just are like, okay, this is just me. This is just me. So yeah, it was incredibly. I still think it did something to me, because I think like there was a moment where I was literally, looking at the food that I was eating. I think I was on something like 1,400 calories a day, but I was training twice a day, every day, and it was just grueling. And what ended up happening, right, was after season 1 had finished and we'd done our thing, COVID hit. So I'm at home enjoying food, all this sort of stuff. So I just yo-yo back, and then I had to do the whole thing again. And it was crazy. It was a lot. And I think even now, like, I'm kind of going through the whole process again of sort of, cutting and shredding.
So do they give you the plan, or are you doing it yourself? Like,
no,
when they make that request,
so
how does it work?
The way that it works normally, if it is quite drastic, is that they do give you like a nutritionist and they give you like a trainer. In this instance, though, it's mainly just a nutritionist.
Yeah.
And they kind of make sure that they take care of you, good care of you, make sure that you're healthy. But you're still doing the whole thing of standing on scales and getting your picture taken and having that sent through, and it
just feels like public
weird.
shaming a little bit, but I guess like if they need a look, then they need to know the updates, I guess.
Yeah, but the thing is that the difference is as well, and this is something that I've realized, is that like not many producers or people, and quite rightly so, know really truly the actual what is needed or the facts of a body changing. Like, for example, like, yes, I'm consistently training and eating not much, but I might have a moment where I don't shift any weight for like 3 or 4 days. and then there's the sort of the normal person would be like, so what are you doing wrong? Whereas the nutritionist is like, that's totally completely normal. Like you plateau and then suddenly something happens, and there's that shift. And then there's always like the water weight and all this sort of stuff. Like they always take these stuff into account. That's why they say like the scales don't actually mean
don't weigh
anything.
yourself every day.
It doesn't make any sense. It's not really important. But again, we're always told, no, you should always look at the scales, look at your look at what you're doing. And
humans love math. Like humans really love like, what's the exact number?
Yeah. And I think like, again, and don't get me, and what's hilarious as well is like, I have been offered, like, I remember while going through it, there's been, offerings of doing like, oh yeah, you want to take like, steroids or testosterone or something like that. And it's like, it's tempting because again, you are at a point where you have to lose weight or look a certain way in such a short period of time.
Yeah.
But the thing is, it's like the long lasting after effects of that are just not worth it. And it's so common and so normal.
Sorry, I just laughed at the way you just slowly put your foot on the table.
I'm so sorry for audio. I'm trying to figure out how to put my feet, and Abu's giving a very, very interesting and actually kind of like insightful thing, and I've got my foot there. To kind of like think of it from my point of view, my experience, and it's really fascinating. One thing I've really hated about breakdowns of anything is the first thing they will describe is the way the character looks.
Yeah.
And
oh man, it's horrible.
and listen, we kind of joke, but like my casting bracket is like attractive men, and that is usually what it says. The first thing will be attractive, physically fit, and I have played a lot of like athletic people, so their entire archetype is they are defined by the way that they look, and I hate it. And it
Why do you hate it?
Because I hate being objectified in a way that makes me inwardly look at myself and think, am I not attractive enough? So when I was on you, my character was described by Penn Badgley as looking like a Greek god, looking like an Adonis in his mind. And I was like, I do not look like that as Penn Badgley. And I remember thinking, this is, I actually hate this. I hate the fact that like my character has to come in.
You don't think you look Greek?
Nice. Nice.
Okay, thank you so much. I don't look Greek enough for the role. I hated it because I was like, everyone has the problems with the way that they look, and this is like woe is me, right? But it's like the difference between working on video games and not is like video games, I need to worry about it. I can turn up looking like absolute crap, and it's all about the quality. The difficulties are different. It's like the texture of your voice, your ability to get there. You're worrying about different stuff. But like this is a whole other thing.
It's a different beast, right?
Yeah. I had a scene where I had to get out of this bath, and it's out of this swimming pool, and everyone was looking at me, and I was wearing these kind of like really tight swimming trunks, and it was all this whole thing. And the whole point was like he gets out looking like glistening, like in James Bond, and I was like, I actually hate it because
no one looks glistening when they come out of a swimming pool.
They don't.
Do you know what I mean?
They don't. But all I cared about was the way that I look. I didn't care about the acting in the scene. All I cared about was how I have not been weighed, so I can't imagine how that feels.
Yeah, it's just very it's very weird because then for something that was normally good for the mind to kind of you go to the gym to kind of just it's your own time, you're doing it for yourself, it is your me time, to then for it to become work, it just changes the dynamic of how you approach training, especially at such a level where it's like, oh no, you need to look a specific way and consistently look a specific way. And I think it was a lot harder, as I say, with Raised by Wolves, because the suit that I was wearing was so revealing that anything was going to be shown. And it wasn't even just me. Like even Amanda had that hard time of like, we couldn't eat rice, for example, because if you bloat up a bit, it will show.
Crazy.
Right? Whereas like with other costumes and other stuff, like you can actually afford to relax a bit.
Yeah, and a lot of shows as well, if they know that you're topless, they'll give you that date and try and stick to it so you can muck around afterwards or hide it and adjust.
Well, we know Hugh Jackman has spoken about like the stuff that he's had to do for any shirtless scenes, which is like completely dehydrate, drink a little red wine. And
Yeah.
I'm so sure that they're all doing steroids.
Most
Because
of them are.
like we went to a gym that a personal trainer had that like a lot of actors went to. The time that I went, it was just like full of actors. And they weren't even really hiding it. That I think it's like we all pretend that they're not doing steroids, but there's no way that half of them aren't. Like if they get that big for the Marvel movies.
There was a guy I remember in South Africa. It was one of the trainers actually at this gym where very kind of normal looking guy. He was just training as normal, but he did like bodybuilding sort of competitions, like again, all aesthetics. And I remember I was training for like a good 4 months out there, working hard. And he was like, "Oh yeah, I got to get ready for this competition." And I shit you not, like literally within the space of 2 weeks, he just blew up. And I remember just looking and thinking, what happened? And it's crazy, like the effects that some of these drugs can do to the body for such little, like, it was very, very, very surreal to see just the transformation of what these drugs can actually do to you.
Yeah.
But also just, again, like, it really screws with your head, man.
This is going to sound like a weird thing to drop in, but my sister's a bodybuilder, and she just got third in the world for her category. She's British.
That's
She's
awesome.
British champion, but she's third in the world. For
Whoa.
this thing. And she's an all natural bodybuilder, and there's different federations that do stuff all over the world, and she's been competing with a federation who are completely clean and they don't do any supplements or anything like that. And it was
Wait. So like not even protein powder?
No, they do protein powder, but it's like performance enhancing supplements,
Okay, so
which
you
are
can't
allowed.
take testosterone or whatever.
Yes,
Okay,
exactly.
yeah.
Which most federations do,
Yeah.
and that's fine. But this is just all natural, and she absolutely walked her categories in the UK because she's tiny. I think she's like 5'2", and she's not even jacked. She's just her body is absolutely insane, and she's had to work so hard at it.
Yeah.
But she got to a point when she was going to World, she was like, I knew I couldn't win because I'm going up against people who are just naturally bigger. There's nothing that I can do because I'm doing all these, I can only go so far. If I was taking supplements, there are ways that I could alter my body and you get that really, really fast thing. And she was telling me about this thing called Clen, which is...
Clenbuterol.
What?
I know a
How do
girl
you
who
know
had a
that?
heart attack.
Yeah, which is it basically, if you want to reduce fat but increase muscle at a very accelerated rate, you can take this thing.
It's a horse fat stripper. They give it to horses and people take it. And I know a girl who had a heart attack in Australia because she took clenbuterol.
Yeah. Yeah. And so my sister was telling me about all of this stuff. I was like, that's insane. But it is what people do in order to maximize those things if they're doing it in a short space of time. And it's like, how can we shortcut that thing to get ripped in 4 months? Because ultimately it's about aesthetics.
Yeah.
Yeah.
At what cost, So like when you have to do these things, like Rahul, I know you've had shirtless scenes. Does it like change your relationship with your body? Like I just feel like if I were under some pressure where I had to look a certain way on a certain date, that I feel like I would wake up and look in the mirror and be like, you've not done it yet, you piece of shit. Like how do you avoid just a ton of self-loathing coming with that?
By never delivering.
Never do
I've
it.
ever hit the target I was supposed to hit for
Right.
anything. So I always go apologetically.
Not great advice, but fair, yeah.
Well, to be honest though, I think it's real though, isn't it? And like I always find, and you know what's funny? Like every time that I've seen actors or seen a performance, like I always think of I think it's James Gandolfini from Sopranos. That guy is like the biggest. He's like the biggest guy. He's a big guy, sexiest man I've ever seen on screen. Like 100%. Do you know what I mean?
not
Like
disagree more
there is
strongly.
100%.
He's a bear.
He's repulsive.
No man,
No,
there is pure sex appeal about
You'd
this
let him
guy.
top
It's
you.
it's
Like,
masculine sex appeal. I get it.
But the thing is, it's like, again, it's that
Just
whole
raw
thing of
sex
like,
appeal.
I think, but also just as, again, this comes down to the whole thing of like, it's about the character, it's about how you perform, it's about I think even with Raised by Wolves, a lot of people were like, oh yeah, your father was a great character. It was really funny, really relatable, really this. And there's a part of me that was like, yeah, but what about my body though? You know what I mean? Like, I worked hard for this.
And you want the credit.
But then at the same time, you're like, no, actually, it's good because that means that people were focusing on my craft rather than being like, well, at least he looked good. Do you know what I mean?
I'm character first, and I always have been, and that's warts and all. I'd love to look good, and I'd love to have first posts and do all of that, but like, if I think a dad bod is right, I'm gonna do it and not care. And like the last couple of things there was one show I was supposed to be the male romantic lead, and I know what they wanted and I know why they hired me, but I refused to do it because I didn't like them. So I showed up, and then there were Spanx in my wardrobe, in my cost trailer, but I was doing it intentionally.
And they changed the script
And they changed the script
to address it.
Yeah, they even address it in the script. A character mentions it.
No way.
Yeah, there was like you're losing weight recently.
Yeah, he's had to lose some weight. He's been through some shit. Yeah.
What?
Yeah.
But the thing is, I did that intentionally. Like I could have done it because, like for Flanagan, the last 3 or 4 have been physical changes that I've done. So
when you were doing Sheriff Hassan, like
that was a story.
You cut sugar, like you changed the kind of milk you were having in your tea.
Well, I fucked up because what happened was I was shooting The Haunting the Bly Manor, and I was at a weight that was right for that character. We were leaning for like kind of like lean guy who's not really taking care of it. Like he's looking after his mum.
Yeah,
he's just eating like pot noodles or something. So I just stayed quite svelte, and then. So we started filming that in like August, and around October, November, me and Mike take a meeting, and he's like, he talks about Midnight Mass and pictures me the show and the character. And at the time I was like 33. Yeah, I was like my early 30s, and the character was going to be about 41, 42. And he's going to have a son that's about 17. So already I'm hearing things where I don't believe myself. I already know I'm not the guy, but I'm going to try and get there. So as we were leaving, I remember saying to Mike, I was like, weight up or down to play up, to play older? And he went, weight up. And I was like, great. And I remember he had a box of pizza, and it was his lunch. And I took 3 slices off his thing, and he started laughing, and I walked out. And in the space of, I think just I started doing it slowly because I was still filming, but I would only have 3 weeks between The Haunting of Bly Manor and Midnight Mass, and I needed to change physically, but not too much because I still had to commit to what I was doing on camera.
Yeah.
And then, so I think I really started in January to get ready for March, and I put on 30 pounds of fat.
Oh my Lord.
And you remember this, right? Like the health issues I was having. Because I wasn't doing it. The thing is, everyone thinks that like at that level, which is like one of the, Bly Manor was one of Netflix's biggest shows of the year. You think people think they provide you with nutritionists and all that. No, they don't. No, you just have a conversation with your showrunner and then you fuck off and do it.
Yeah.
Unless it's like, when it's Marvel the Machine and they're invested in its money, they'll pay for it. But like, you're just required to do what you can.
Do it.
It's why people talk about superhero films being the thing. It's like, it's pretty much superhero. That's when they're giving you a nutritionist.
Yeah, it's the IKEA. They'll do it and they'll get you there.
So off of that, how often, like when you're... Oh, sorry. Keep going. I'm sorry.
No. So I had put on... It's all right.
How dare you.
So I had done it the dirty way. And it was like, at 4 a.m, there'd be like an Uber Eats or whatever for McFlurries and burgers, even when I was and I was just doing it. I started vomiting in my sleep.
Oh my God.
And I was going through this really tough time, but I did it. And we got there to the table read, and I was big, and I had long hair. No. Yes, we were hiding my hair a little bit because I was going to play him a bit Jason Momoa-y. And we get to the table read, and then COVID happens. And we were supposed to shoot March 16th, and the show went on a hiatus March 13th. And that wasn't my frame to be that heavy and that big and to do it wrong.
Yeah.
So we're in a pandemic, and I'm trying to keep that weight on, and it fucked my health up to the point where even now I still, from that moment, that's the first time I had acid reflux, and I would just constantly have heartburn, and it's cutting weight or putting on weight when the shoot date keeps moving is
That's hard.
awful. So originally it was 2 weeks, and then it was a month, and then it was 2.
Of course, and then it just
And we didn't get till August. So from March to August, I couldn't hold that and sustain that kind of weight. So I called Mike and I was like, can we rethink this? And I was like, what if he's just fit? And I sent him a picture of Joel Miller from The Last of Us, and he was like, yeah, do that. So then I had to undo all of that for filming, and that's when the thing got extreme, and it went to like a complete carb, dairy, sugar cut.
yeah.
Just to lose so no one even saw, just to look kind of how I looked in Bly Manor.
Yeah.
I went through a 30 pound up, 30 pound down.
That's crazy, man.
But I've done it for most of his shows. But now what I'm doing is like, I'm living my life so gluttonously that I'm never in filming shape. I'm always 30 to 40 pounds off what a normal looking guy should look like. So every shoot I now have to drop 30 because I won't cut fast food. Because when I'm wrapped, I just
No, it's, totally get that. And that's the thing. I remember. I remember so vividly, the end of season 1 of Raised by Wolves, and just going ham, bro.
Because you can.
Chinese takeaways,
Yeah.
fish and chips, like, just
glutton.
Ben and Jerry's, everything, like, just go because it was taken away from me so strictly, like, and it was almost to the point of, and again, I'm a foodie, man. Like, I love food. My mum used to make, like, my food. My mum, when she cooked, it was through love. Like, that was my love language. To then, make me have it where it's just fuel.
Yeah.
Oh my God. And some of the food, I'd be eating like cauliflower rice. I didn't even know you could make rice out of cauliflower.
I've got that in the fridge right now.
It's I quite like it.
Oh,
I also like cauliflower rice.
Nice.
Yeah.
You lot, man.
I can't eat the veg.
No,
Now I'm just like, I'm
Yeah, you were
technically
sick last week and you were like, I do not want to fucking eat these vegetables. You just like want soup.
I'm doing a 30 drop now, and like, and I'm paying for it. It's not like Marvel or anything.
Yeah.
And I can't get through my healthy meals, even though it's on a calorie deficit.
Yeah, it's hard.
I can't eat
You
the good
can't
stuff.
finish it.
Yeah, it's just
Can't
like
finish it.
this plain chicken and these broccoli.
Oh, man.
It is a unique job in that like your whole body matters so much. And it matters a lot in terms of health as well, right? Because like you need to be physically able to hold yourself in whatever position you have to hold yourself in. There were things even when we were doing VHS Beyond that were just way fucking harder than I would have thought because I had to like tense in weird
But
ways for a
adrenaline
really
will
long
see you
time.
through.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, true.
Because
yeah.
I did. Oh, nearly. No, I'm all right. I did Citadel heavy, way too fat, way too big to be who I was playing. And I had action sequences, and I knew, I was like, I can barely go up the stairs up here, right? Like, but adrenaline and pride, I kept every take running, full pelt, running.
Yeah.
You injure yourself. Like, I think what's interesting to kind of almost like tether it ever so slightly to kind of like video game stuff. We're not in any way, and I knew this, like I'm on set and film. I'm not thinking about my voice even slightly. I'm not thinking about vocal strength. I'm not thinking about vocal clarity, health, any of it. I'm thinking, how do I look? How do I look? And the lines will come. That's fine. It's not relevant. If I'm doing a video game, it's the exact opposite. It's what is my instrument doing? How does it sound? I'm thinking about all of the different textures in it, and it's just a completely different thing.
Is that freeing or is it just a different kind of anxiety?
It's a different kind of anxiety. It's the same thing where you're going, what matters? And like in
I did it again. You just your little.
Can I not? Am I not allowed
no,
to
it's
extend
it's just
my
really
thing?
funny to watch.
Is it because it's a delicate?
Yes, it's because you're doing it so thoughtfully.
I do not like voice acting.
Go on.
I do it enough to the point where it's like a regular source of income. I do not get off on it. I do not.
Do you find it boring?
Yeah, I'll probably talk myself out of a job here.
No, I don't think so.
You're okay.
It's. I remember at first feeling like, because my first game was Gears of War, and I was shooting a TV show at the same time, my first big show, and I got Gears kind of like during season 2 of that.
Yeah.
And I was like, oh my God, I'm doing a video game. This is a big deal. And as soon as I got into the booth, I felt like I was in a boxing match and someone had tied my hands up.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And I was like, and I've never got over that even now, where I'm so in my own head about it. And like, I love the final product. I love the final product so much and what comes out of that work.
That you'd go through.
That I keep going for it again. But in
Yeah.
the terms of the craft, new.
If Rockstar were to call you up and say, Red Dead 3.
Cool, let's do mocap, PCAP.
Yeah. And that's what, and for you, it's like, and because, yeah, performance capture, motion capture.
Mocap, PCAP.
Yeah.
Screen acting, just voice.
Have you done any, like,
Yeah.
mocap, PCAP?
Yeah. That is even better than screen acting.
It's
for me.
great.
Yeah. It's more freeing than anything I've
Interesting.
ever done.
Why? Because you're not worried about the way you look?
Because no, it's not even about the way I look. It is the purest form of acting I've ever done, and that's available to me outside of just being young with my cousins reenacting scenes from Karate Kid. You do not, when there's no lighting that you have to worry about. There's no marks to speak to a certain degree.
Yeah.
You're not cheating, and I adore. There's been an evolution for me in my relationship to acting where like I was very character first in the sense of like I never thought about technique. I never technique. I never thought about the technical aspect of it. I never knew, I couldn't even retain like acting alone, just embodying a character and playing through that character's journey from scene to scene to scene took up 100% of my brain. But once I was doing iZombie and we were doing 70 plus episodes, suddenly I didn't need 100% of my brain and I could start punching up that technique and now just hitting that mark and opening up when we weren't supposed to. If someone's blocked me, knowing I'm blocked and just readjusting. And I now, in this stage of my career, I get off on that more. Like character, yeah, cool, whatever. Like it is what it is. But like I love the technical. I love being able to like surprise a director or a DP by folding into someone else's coverage when they weren't expecting it and being like, oh, we got that. Like that's become the new part. But mocap, PCAP, it's just us.
Yeah.
It's just like you got what 1 hour of syncing and getting ready and all of that, right? And then you never think about it again.
Yeah.
I am.
No retouches, no nothing. I mean, maybe a few dots here and there, but like, and then it's just pure
play, man.
Was
us.
Bayek PCAP?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Yeah, it was all, and again, I'm very similar in the regards to like, I think it's the most freeing experience because you are being a kid again because you have to imagine everything. And that's the acting aspect of it all. Like, you know, you're having to imagine seeing ancient Egypt or wherever you are. You're having to imagine like this stick is a sword or this like dustbin lid's a shield. Like you're having to just pretend and play. And the fact that the cameras are everywhere, so you don't have to worry about blocking someone or like you just are there. And like, yeah, okay, you've got like these funny dots and whatever and all these, but it's like, it's all cool, man.
Yeah, it's
And
like being a kid again, totally.
Yeah,
It really
it
is. And it's why we became actors in the first place.
Yeah.
That's our first hour.
Because you all
of us
wanted to when you were young, right?
Yeah.
Yeah.
Youngish.
I mean,
No, I didn't. But I did play.
Yeah.
Like that was I was Rocky. I was
Yeah.
Karate Kid. Like that was happening there even before I knew I wanted to do it. You know?
Yeah.
I think also like with even like be it theatre or even like with film or TV, when someone has kind of like I always say it's like, you know, you look at like an ashtray. In your mind, you have an idea of what that ashtray is when you read it in the script of how it may look like, and that is to you. So then when you're playing it in a volume, when you're doing PCAP, that ashtray can look however you want it to look, and it will look different to another actor. But when you're on stage or on screen, that ashtray is the ashtray, and that's how it is, and that's always how it's going to be. And it's almost like, oh, okay, you've taken that imagination out from me. And it's not necessarily a hindering thing, but it's like, oh, okay, cool. I've only got little things that I can now kind of anchor myself to my imagination, to my play. Whereas with PCAP, it's like everything's game. Everything is game.
It's
You know?
so funny because I think every actor has their own technique, right? We went to the same drama school, and the one thing they teach us at this drama school was like, you each can take your own techniques away from this. So like
Which school?
went to Lambda.
Oh, you were at Lambda.
And it was like, sometimes you're going to be like an outside in, inside out. How do you kind of access a scene? Like I know actors that come in and they have a perfume onto every single job and they spray themselves in a perfume and they're like, that gets me into character. Or it's like, the first thing I have to do on any job is I have to buy the character's shoes. I have to walk in the shoes.
Oh, that's interesting.
And it's each...
Mine's music.
Is it?
Yeah, playlist.
Yeah. And
When
it's
I'm
like,
reading.
whatever you do, it's like you find your way and it's the one thing. And for me, I quite like the alchemy of bringing something to it and then walking into the room and seeing what I have to play with. Like I quite like, obviously I'd prefer the beauty of the volume to imagine anything that you want.
Yeah.
But there's also something quite fun about creating a space in your mind, or creating a character in your mind and putting all the pieces that you can put together, and then recognizing that you are one piece in a puzzle of 5 people and being like, okay, so what does the room look like? Like I see the restrictions of the ashtray as an opportunity to play and being like, this is not the ashtray I expected, but let's figure out a fun thing that I never imagined that it could be. And I quite like the restrictions sometimes. Sometimes I absolutely fucking hate them because I'm going, this is completely restricting my performance. But sometimes I'm like, I didn't expect it to be like that. But I agree with you that I think I love performance capture. It's something that I didn't do on Final Fantasy. What I did was headcam. So they did PCAP in Hungary and in Japan. And then I would essentially do glorified ADR.
Right.
With a head cam on, and they would basically put my facial movements to the character. That was at times incredibly crippling and at times incredibly exciting because stuff came out of it that I didn't expect. And sometimes, there are people have different ways of physically representing that character. So I would have to
You could
modulate.
be at odds with them physically?
I'd have to modulate my performance based on what someone else did, which at times I didn't feel great, and other times actually was brilliant. And in the finished product, you can't really see the difference, but it meant that it was a different kind of discipline that I was applying to it, because essentially I was trying to combine my performance with a performance of multiple people who played Clive physically on top of that. And I loved it, because I was able to find stuff in it that you wouldn't normally expect, but at the same time, it was difficult.
Yeah.
And it was something that I think a lot of actors found very difficult, but I think I was pretty much thrown in the deep end with it, because they would do this, solve this problem for us. And 4 years in, I could solve it nice and easy. I know what works and what doesn't. But since then, I've now gone into a volume and done full performance capture, and I'm like, wow, this is so much easier. This is crazy how much easier it is, and how much you can get so much more nuance from it, because you're not restricted by someone else's excellent, but ultimately different performance to the way that you would physically represent it.
Yeah. It also, I mean, the thing with PCAP as well is it just affords us luxuries and indulgences, because everything's done. There isn't. I always feel guilty because I do like ad-libbing and I can improv, and when you're on set, you're almost always already behind before breakfast. Like every single show I've been in, every morning I wake up and they're pretty much, I get into work and they're like, yeah, the first scene took too long, so we're gonna have to. And it's always the case, right? Whoever's the first scene takes most of the day. And I used to take more, and it was crazy because I started to like readjust how I felt about my work.
You gotta let him in. He wants to be here so
he's
bad.
He's gonna cut back out, and then we're risking a pull.
He's the star of the show.
For audio listeners, Banjo's back.
He has to go that way. It's only 2. This is like 4, 5. This way. Come on, boy.
He's looking at me like, excuse me, that's my couch. Come on.
Come.
Good boy.
There we go.
Nice boy.
Good boy.
All right, interesting choice.
Okay.
That's for you.
Quite what I expected, but all right.
Are you going to get demonetized?
Wowee, not
Smart.
it. This is crazy. For free?
yeah.
For free, Banjo? Wow.
Interesting choice, bud. There you go, good boy.
There you go.
It's because he's conscious of them, I think. He's like, but they're cables.
What the fuck was I saying? Oh, yeah. You don't... I do 3 takes. This is what's been told to me by people I've worked with. I'm a 3-take person, and I get very frustrated past that. And a lot of it is to do with also I've made it my mission now to get the crew home. I don't know why, and sometimes that's anti-art, but I really wanted to be the actor that can deliver and make the creative side happy, but also the crew are like, oh, we're going home tonight.
Yeah.
Especially when you're doing long shows and series, and I love being that guy. So like, I sometimes don't explore enough because I usually my first or my third takes are the ones that they say they use. And then once I know I've done that, I'm like, do you want to go again? Nope. And when I was doing PCAP, we were doing like 15 and no one kept, because it was just like, do you want to go again?
Yeah.
Sure.
Well, there's no reset, right?
No reset,
Yeah.
no setting up. It's just you do
And
it.
that's why it took me back to even like the drama school days where we were rehearsing in the space, and like, you know, we were all terrified and learning this new thing, and we were like experimenting. And I think I've got so industry, like I've turned into a machine slightly, that when I went into a world that I thought was predominantly machine, it actually turned out to be the most artistic and freeing. It was.
That's super interesting. Yeah.
Yeah.
I mean, when you work on something like iZombie, how many episodes were you doing a year?
Oh no, we were short seasons. We did 13 every year. One season we did 19.
And
which
then
took us, 19 episodes.
how long did it take to shoot an episode?
So ours was a little harder than everyone else's on the CW, because we were 41 minutes, but Rob Thomas only wanted 60-page scripts. So, because he doesn't want to write to 41, he wants us to shoot 60 and then make the changes in the post.
Wow.
And find where the fat is.
Right.
Which is crazy, right?
That's crazy.
Yeah, but it works. Like Rob's
Makes for
fucking
the really
genius.
tight, like well-paced show, yeah.
So we did a lot of ADR too, because what he'd do is he'd go, and that scene drags. So what's the information I needed from this scene? I'm going to insert it on the back of this character here when they're in coverage, and
Wow.
like,
Can I ask a question about this? Because this is, Jamestown was the same, where basically he would absolutely overwrite the creator of the show, who wrote every single episode. He would overwrite for a Sky show that was ultimately going to be 42 minutes, and he'd write 60 pages, but also there'd be like each page would be monologues.
Yeah.
And so you know that I'm learning all of this stuff, I'm doing all of this stuff, and you're going, what's going to go? What storyline's going to go? And actually, a lot of my stuff went, and it wasn't that the performance wasn't great. It was fucking majestic. It was just to do with the fact that the
I was going to
story.
hit the air horn.
Go on.
I can't.
Do
Don't
it
want to upset Banjo.
Stunning. Well,
I got a foot air horn.
it was that the storyline wasn't relevant to the story that needed to go forward. It was ultimately fat, and so I found myself doing a lot of work that kept being edited out in the edit, and I was like quite disheartened by the third series, being like, this is a shame, because a lot of work that is good in isolation isn't good for the show itself. And I'm doing all this work. I'm coming out. I'm spending 6 months of the year. I mean, again, we were on the
But
same
you know
show.
what though?
Yeah.
They're doing you a favor, because if he feels that your stuff's got the fat in it,
Yeah.
you're only going to tie on board audiences. And at a certain point, every time you appear, it could feel laborious for
Exactly.
the audience. And keeping you tight and stripping it down to like its most base, like what is essential here. I know it's like, obviously it's disheartening because you know that you're cramming and
because also like I can only see it from my point of view, so I'm being narcissistic and I'm going, well, is it because my work is not good enough? Is it because like actually I could make this scene so excellent that he needs to keep it in? And it's a bizarre mentality. I mean, you were there, you kind of knew what the set was like. It was weird. A wonderful show for the people that we met, but an interesting dynamic for the show itself. And it was a strange scenario where I felt like, is it that I'm not good? Now, in hindsight, years later, I was like, am I actually welcome on here? Is my character's presence a burden to the story? And in doing so, I'm going, you're right, it's great because it keeps me lean, but also I kind of want to be beefy in an interesting way. Don't write me boring, write me interesting.
I mean, you're noticing like a lot of shows now anyway have less sort of an ensemble feel, right? I think the only ensemble big feel we have right now is something like House of the Dragon, where there are like a lot of characters, but even then, characters are tied together a lot more, and there are these little units that move that almost make their own mini character. Because the thing with Jamestown, I found anyway, was that characters were mixing all over the shop, and it's like, why am I talking to you? Like, you
Wasn't there like an episode where you and I were together? for
Yeah,
some
where we
reason,
had
and
like,
were
and it just
why we've
it
never
didn't make
actually
any
met.
sense at all.
Wasn't there this episode where that my character like supposedly like ended slavery or something?
Yes, it was
it was wild. It was
sorry, what?
wild.
Honestly, this show, man. This show.
We
I gotta
shouldn't
go
really
watch
say it on the
Jamestown.
podcast.
Look, it was.
It was weird. It was a beautiful experience for a lot of us. We made incredibly like lifelong
Wait, I
friends
missed that.
on
What
the
did
show.
you say your character did?
Ended slavery.
Somebody had to do it.
Honestly,
That's not what it was. But by the end of it, it had that feeling of kind of going, and the slaves never happened.
Honestly.
And it's like, it's weird because it was preying on that kind of sentimental attitude, and it didn't really land. But yeah, a weird thing. And you're right. And we were like, why are our characters talking?
Yeah.
We have no relationship.
It's so many. Yes, there were so many of these weird mixes that happened, and I think it was that whole thing of trying to make characters interesting rather than treating them as like little units or little houses.
I felt like in that show we weren't characters, we were pawns in a much greater thing. So it was like when you're in a precinct show like Jamestown, where I was an archetype, I was a doctor, so my character was very important to other people's storylines. So if someone got injured or whatever, I would be the utility character, the cipher for whatever thing they were doing. And originally he had a storyline, but ultimately he kind of was just filtered out because actually he was better as a utility, and in doing so he was just like there to give moral advice,
Which has nothing to do with you or your performance at all.
no, but it was the utility that my character had. And
Yeah.
I was like, well, I remember my character was actually given a storyline in season 2. And I remember the writer like sending me an email being like, this is fantastic work, Ben, well done. And I was like, wow, that's really cool. That's the first time he's ever given me a compliment, because it's the first time he ever wrote any sort of emotional
Anything you
storyline
could do
into my
anything with.
yeah. And I was like, wow, maybe I'm going to get more. I didn't.
Right.
Because ultimately there's 20 other characters that need that same servicing,
they need to
and there are
keep
more interesting
introducing.
storylines than mine, but I can only see it from my point of view. So
Yeah.
I'm going like, oh, maybe I'm not good enough. Maybe I'm not.
Actors, man.
It always comes.
I feel
down
like
to
it's
that,
just a
though.
job that makes you so insecure.
It does, but it's designed
Crazy.
that way. There's no way around it. And,
Totally.
I mean, I've got to this point now where like everyone has an individual problem or way of working or eccentricity or something, but all of it stems from the same place, which is being insecure. Even
we all
the
just are
big
in different
boys,
ways.
like you get on set and you're like, wow, like that's him. He's a fucking legend. Why is he done? Oh, he's fucking insecure. That's why he's doing that. Like it just doesn't go. I think we all share it and suffer it, and it fuels us, but it's also like it kills our families and friends and stuff. Like it's I haven't met an insecure actor, and anyone that was super confident and self-assured never went anywhere, stayed where they were, never got more jobs, never pushed themselves. I never answered your question. Sorry, 8 days. iZombie was 8 days an episode.
Yeah, that's
8
it's
days.
fast.
For 60 pages.
Yeah, and everyone else had about that for 40 pages. So what we did was, and it was a comedy, right?
That's insane.
Yeah, my point there was
It
going
was
to be
awesome,
that you got used to moving very efficiently, which
No table
when you did it
reads.
for years shapes how you do everything.
How
else.
many pages are you doing a day?
9 to 12.
My God,
Yeah.
that's like doctors in the UK.
And it was like, we're talking about Rob Thomas dialogue, done Veronica Mars and stuff. This is a very particular
fast.
bop, 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 bop. And we had no table reads, no rehearsals. So we read the scripts in private, but we were that dialed in. I've not worked on a show. It's crazy, man. Like I'm so proud of the cast and that show, because we were like, we could make choices, because we'd literally use blocking as the first time to hear it, and then be like, and then we'd be getting mic'd up. Now it sounds diva-y, but we would ask our green room to be quiet while we were being mic'd up and makeup and stuff like that was happening, because this was our rehearsal was going to be the master. So we would be running it there and then, me, Rose, and Mac, and we'd be going, "That's good. I'll try that. I liked it when you did that in blocking." Da, 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 da. And then we'd go out and we'd nail it, and we'd make each other laugh, and we'd move on and we'd do it. And all of our auditions and self tapes, because we're all in Vancouver together, we're all roughly the same age. We're making choices on the fly. We're like doing quite demanding material. Sometimes it's exposition, but the show was an everything. So Rose was doing different characters every week, and then I started doing that later, different accents. Our auditions we were killing them. All of us kept getting recalls. We were
Wow.
making so many choices and nuances with like very little information.
Because
Like,
you had
I've-
to do that on the
Yeah,
show.
I've never been that sharp. And
It's such a cool thing about iZombie, especially like as an actor, is like for anyone who's not
my
familiar with the
first
premise
show.
of the show, is like the zombies, they get to eat a bit of a brain and then they become sort of like the person whose brain
yeah,
they
they
ate.
get the
So you
memories
get
or
to be
characteristics.
50 different characters, which
Yeah.
is super cool.
Rose has basically done 70 plus characters.
Wow.
And she was in every scene, right? So like there were predominantly, there's about 5-6 of us series regulars. And if there's 75 eps shooting 8 days, Rose was always 8 days. Malcolm was about 6-7, and then I was around 4-5. So she was in every day at 26. This is Rose McIver.
Yeah.
She's 26 years old, 27 years old. She's focused on the brain she's doing now, knowing she's going straight into the next brain. So she would be doing like
Oh my lord.
currently playing, say, like, I don't know, I'm trying to think of some of the brain she did. Gym bro fitness instructor. At the same time, after she raps, she's going in for salsa dancing because we got salsa brain next week, and she's learning a routine because that's going up.
How fun.
That's why Rose deserves. She's one of the most impressive actors, and she was number 1 on the call sheet. Youngest. Fucking hell. And I didn't appreciate her until I got older. And then I
Right.
started working with the big boys and all of the like legends I grew up with who can barely fucking hold it together for one scene
So, yeah.
without a tantrum or something. And then
She's doing that as basically a baby.
a baby with
Yeah.
the show on her shoulders while doing
Yeah,
it.
that's
Was
a lot.
Other than that, other than iZombie, what is a show that it's supposed to everyone that, or something that you've come onto where you're coming onto a machine or you're a part of a machine where you look at the people at the top and you're like, I don't know how you're doing that. Like, because I remember coming onto the Musketeers, my first ever job, and that was out in Prague. And all the Musketeers had to learn all the fight choreography for the next thing at the same time. So in between scenes, they were like doing the massive fight choreography for the next episode, each thing. And I was going, so wait, you don't get a break? Like, no, we're literally rehearsing this thing now. And the Musketeers, like, fight choreography was insane.
Yeah.
It was just like big, elaborate set pieces. And just thinking, these guys don't get a break. They don't actually have any doubt. Their downtime is
Learning the next thing.
Yeah, it's prep. And I'm like, that's mad. And as an actor, I didn't realize all of the stuff that was going into it. And it wasn't just the performance. They're having to keep multiple scripts in their head and also the fight choreography. I had to learn one fight and my brain was fried.
Yeah.
And I'm like, they've got to learn the fight that I'm doing now with them, and they've got to learn a fight for the next block. And they've
not
got to,
confuse the two.
yeah.
Not
and-
to be reductive to them, but like, it's just a muscle. Like it's like going into the gym and then looking at all the guys and how much they're lifting, and you're like, how the fuck I can't. That's heavier than I am.
Yeah.
And he's using that to preach a curl. But it's like, well, yeah, because
he's been doing it.
he's been doing it, and you do get
True.
whatever
He's
it
gonna be
is,
getting
you
better
get
at it.
sharp because your brain, like I said, like I could barely have any camera awareness or marks awareness. A bomb could have gone off, and I wouldn't have known because all my brain could handle when I first got onto iZombie was my lines and the character, and that was it. And they could have been like, "You weren't wearing your jacket." I wouldn't have known because I'm just doing this.
Right.
But then as the episodes go and the episodes go, your brain lets up, and then you're like, and then you're doing a scene that back in the day would have been your best work, and but you're thinking about, I might go out tonight. You know, your brain's like that's what happens. So I feel like the Musketeers guys, like it is intense, but you'll always
in
be
it.
surprised how much you're capable of doing.
Yeah, true.
I had that where after I came off Final Fantasy and I went into this other job, which is essentially doing the same thing, and the team were like, "Wow, you're so quick at this." I'm going, "Yeah, because I've been doing this for 4 years. I know pretty much every shortcut that I need to do to get to where we need to do."
Yeah.
And so they marked off 4 hours. I did it in about 1 for what was needed because I was like, I know exactly what you need. I'd need a bit of a warm up now, but it was that same thing. Like I was in it. I'm like, I know what you need from this scene, and I know what I sound like when I
It's
do
like
it.
footballers, right? Like they only have like 2 weeks off in the summer or 3 weeks, but that break, they have to have a preseason to get into football shape, to get into Premier League shape. They're not. They say they don't even get to full fitness by October, November, where they can play every 3 days and be like competitive. It's like the sharpness, like doing something to an overload like that. You are just like
on
You're
it.
razor. And then you
Yeah.
take a gap.
Best advice for getting good at something is just keep fucking doing it. Yeah.
Yeah, it is.
My friend's on the West End right now. He's in a brilliant show called The Curious Case of Benjamin Button, and and they've turned it into an amazing musical in the West End. And he is a brilliant actor, but and I always find this, going into rehearsals and then doing 8 shows a week is a whole other thing where they're like, my lifestyle changes. I'm going to 8 shows a week where like, firstly, in rehearsals, I have to get up and I have to do a full day's rehearsal for months, which is crazy because you don't do that sometimes. Like it's a really difficult discipline. And then it switches as soon as you go from previews to shows, then you are doing nothing during the day, but you are wired from 6 until 10:30, and they're like, I'm not going to bed then until 2 because I'm having to have a couple of beers in order just to chill out because my brain is so
so wired.
And then you're waking up at different times. And some people have kids, some people do it. I mean, I work with an amazing actor on Final Fantasy called Stuart Clark, who's Javert in Les Mis, and like he does that. Like he's been doing Les Mis for like 2.5 years.
Is that Finchy?
No, it's no, that's Ralph Fiennes.
That's it, Ralph.
But Stuart sits Stroll in Metaphor Refantasio as well. Like he does loads of amazing video game stuff. But he also is Javert in the West End, and so he does 8 shows a week, as well as doing video game stuff. Yeah. So he'll record during the day and then go and he has kids and takes them to school.
I don't love acting enough.
Yeah, he does though.
I can't do
he
it.
does. He does Les Mis. He does it to 2,500 people a night, standing ovation, singing stars, doing the thing.
Wow.
And then goes and does Metaphor Refantasio.
Does theatre, when you're doing the same show over and over again, does it not get super boring?
Yes.
Okay,
Yes
great.
and no. It depends on how you feel about your role
Yeah.
Sure.
and the production. Because I've theatre where you're like, doing it more than 5 times, it's just the most monotonous shit. But there were shows that I loved. Couldn't wait every night to see the changes.
Yeah.
They're few and far.
I had Call of the Void. I did a show where I do the opening monologue, and I did it so many times that I remember doing it. I was doing it on autopilot, and I thought I could just derail this show right now. and I'm doing the words, I'm speaking the words, but my mind is thinking I could fuck this up right now. And it's terrifying. It's the thing where you're at the wheel and you think I could crash this car, I could kill everyone inside this car, me. But like that weird thing where you go, I'm not going to, but what happened if I did?
Yeah.
And you wouldn't know. Watching the show, you wouldn't know because I'm
that you were
still
thinking
going
that.
through all the motions.
Yeah. Because you're on
memory.
autopilot, right?
Yeah.
You've done it so many times you don't have to think about it.
Yeah.
I
What
did
an
a show
interesting
where
comment.
I only had to rock up after the interval. That was great.
Did you ever miss it?
Right. So I never missed it because it was at the Don Mar. It was like a really small role, but I do remember that was like perfect because it felt like I was going out every night. Because I'd literally like leave the house at like 7ish, rock up, do my line, at the interval.
What was your line?
Like it was like get out of the bathroom. It was like that was it.
Right.
That was it.
I feel
was
like
like
I'm
playing
there.
like a police officer telling you Teddy Ferrara.
Wow.
It was hilarious. But then, it was in the Don Mar, so it was like central London. So we
Covent
got
Garden.
all like,
Come
Covent
on.
Garden. We got all like the because they end up doing this thing where they give you like all the members clubs because you're doing a show like in Central.
Yeah, the West End show.
Basically, I ended up doing like my one line and then going to like all
The
these
Ivy.
really cool fancy
cool.
like
Yeah.
The Groucho.
little like
I went there.
little
I
pubs
went
as
there for
well.
the first time. I didn't know it was in 6 weeks ago. The Groucho,
The Groucho,
Yeah.
yeah.
and I went up for a meeting, and it was full of theatre people.
Yes.
and it was
man.
the worst fucking atmosphere.
Dude, the
He'd have
Groucho's
hated it.
weird. man.
Everyone chatting to me.
Weird,
I don't
bro.
want to talk.
was
Everyone's
weird, man.
performing.
Did everyone like look at you when you walk in? Like there's the thing where everyone kind of looks up and they look at you to see if you're important enough.
Yeah. Oh,
No,
so
they
good.
Amazing.
I just thought I was someone's
Wow.
Uber.
All right. Private members clubs are like that though. This is like private members clubs I hate. Like Soho House I think is the worst for it. Where you walk in and everyone will stare at you to see if you are famous enough for them to care about when you walk in. It's a very weird feeling.
Don't like any of that.
I want to go back to theatre.
It's
I
cool.
haven't done
It
it.
is good. I'm amazed that the theatre. I know that the theatre scene here is dead, but like, and I know I'm sure there's been many a conversation with actors trying to like bring it back to life here in LA. Like, because honestly, theater when it's good, it's amazing.
It's sensational.
Yeah, we had a
both
friend
for
who just
audience
finished
as
on
well as
Sunday.
actors.
Sam
Yeah,
Sloyan.
Sam Sloyan just finished a run of a show on Sunday night. Was her last show. I went and saw it, and it was awesome. It was in Venice Beach.
She played Beverly Keane in Midnight Mass.
I'm playing Beverly Keane in Midnight Mass.
It's just honestly, I just don't know why it's. I mean, I know in London it just doesn't pay very well unless you're in like a West End show and you're like
Even then,
James McAvoy or
ass.
something. It's still
It's definitely
Like-
not paying in LA.
No, I wouldn't have thought so.
But it's one of the it is such a powerful medium.
Yeah, totally.
Such a good form of
If we're
entertainment.
talking about, like, we were speaking about voice acting and then live action acting and PCAP, mocap, do you not have like a whole different experience theater considering you're performing to the audience rather than to each other or
Oh,
to a
yeah.
camera? Like,
I
is
think
that not
it's-
also just a whole separate thing physically?
I think theatre might be number one.
But
Yeah.
I would have thought that having to present yourself forward can
you don't-
limit performance.
No, because you're not
It's
always.
validation right there.
Yeah, and
and
also-
watching every move, and
that's the thing, and it's like I think it's also you're not really. It's not really like Shakespeare performing to the audience. Like, yes, of course you're aware of them, but you're still there live with
your
another
scene
actor.
partners,
Yeah, with
yeah.
another
Yeah.
actor there.
So cool.
Like it is so visceral.
It's electric.
And-
It's electric,
yeah.
right? You feel
Yeah.
it every night.
Totally.
Like it's because, like you said, like the you could crash this car. You're both on
Yeah.
stage looking at each
Like,
other, just
literally,
locked
oh
in.
man,
Yeah.
And then
anything could
everyone's-
happen.
Yeah.
Yeah.
I remember I did a play once at the like, and this is the thing. It was a touring play with Cheek by Jowl, and it was I think what was the play? It wasn't The Tempest. It was one of those ones where the kings are mad. I mean, they're all fucking mad.
The kings are mad.
Kings are mad.
Lear.
No, it isn't Lear, man. It's like it's one of those Shakespeare plays that not many people
Cymbeline.
know about. No, but close, around that sort of vibe.
Pericles.
No. Anyway, point is, I was doing this fucking play.
You
In
tried,
the comment
buddy.
section, please tell us what the play is.
Literally, like, but the point is, yeah, I was doing this play. I was trying to think. I was about to say much.
Maybe you'll get it. Maybe we'll get it. I'll keep listening him.
But I was doing this play.
Titus Andronicus.
No.
Yell things at him.
No. But it was touring around Europe. And the one thing that really stunned me was the different audiences of the European sort of space. So the UK, normally you do it to an audience, and the audience of the UK are quite like, tame.
Reserved.
They do, the reserved. They do the clap, you come out maybe, twice, 3 times if you're lucky, you do your bow and then you leave, right? Except if you're doing it in Stratford. If you're doing it in Stratford, not Stratford upon Avon, like Stratford, actually East London,
Stratford East.
they get involved. People
Oh,
are
really?
taking phone calls. They're like, "Yo, why is Juliet saying that? Don't say that, bro." And then honestly, they get involved. Like I've many a time and experience where audience members have really been like, I could hear someone be like, "Nah, I'm out of play.
No
Mum, I'm out
way.
of play. I'm watching a play." And it's like, all right, that's totally understandable. It's
That's
all cool.
so funny.
So anyway,
Yeah.
but usually UK audiences are very reserved, and you get that energy, and you kind of work with it, and it's what it is. You do something in Spain. I think the most we came out to bow, I think, was like 15 times.
What?
Yeah, like this is like there are some audiences.
Wow.
It was Spain and France, Lyon specifically, Lille, sorry, where the audiences were just in it, and they would just be clapping, and you'd be coming out like 15.
Those
like,
cultures.
Okay, wait.
Yeah.
So the coming out after the end,
Yeah.
I had always assumed that was a pre-planned amount. Are you doing it based on how much they're cheering?
keep
Yes.
going.
Oh,
They keep
you
going.
have
No
to.
way,
Yeah,
really?
You'll
Yeah.
have
They
a
take the piss. They
Yeah.
can take the piss, and you could be there for a while.
You
Yeah.
can pre-plan it. You're like, okay, so
I had thought it was always like and we'll go out 3
You
times.
one's pre-planned.
yeah,
You do
Yeah.
your
Yeah.
initial one. 9 times out of 10, you do come out.
Do
for
come
the
out
second
again.
one.
Yeah.
yeah.
but
but
that's
like,
it.
yeah.
But
If they
like,
keep
yeah.
going, you have to keep coming
You have
out.
to keep coming
Really?
out. Yeah.
Yeah.
And so like I remember
No
there
way.
were many a night where we would, especially in Spain and Barcelona, where we had performed to the audience, and the lights were up, like everything, basically people were packing up, but they just kept clapping.
way, that's
so
so
we just
cool.
kept coming out.
Wow.
But there is something really beautiful about that, because there is this sense of, yeah, you are live, you are taking this in, you are, you know, you're in this moment with us, like you can feel it, you know? And I think like that is something that is not necessarily, you don't really get that in film, or you don't really, of course you can't get it in film because you aren't there with the
No, I
audience.
make them do the crew do that.
After every scene, you get the crew, you like get them to.
Why is no one clapping?
Yeah, but no, seriously, honestly, the like,
There's a relationship
that
you guys have like
form
with the audience, and they know it's all popping off.
Yeah.
And it's like it's exciting.
Even when it's shit, even when you're like doing like a matinee and everyone's there, it's like a Monday matinee. They're like, we just got this ticket because it was the only one available, and you're not really feeling it. You might be hanging or whatever, and you're doing the show, and you don't feel it. You come out and you're like, oh, it didn't feel good, and it's like that's a different feeling than what it's going to be tomorrow night, or you know, and it's just that is so magical.
Yeah,
and the fact that you can
I'm
even
so
forget
surprised
your
it's not
lines.
monotonous. That's what I would have expected.
Really, I mean,
It
it
is.
just depends.
it is. It depends.
both.
And it also isn't.
Yeah.
Yeah.
You know, I have a hot take.
All right, let's hear it.
I'm not the biggest. I started on stage and I grew an appreciation for theatre. It was a means to an end. I'm a film boy. I was always going to be a screen actor. But you're in the UK. How do you do that? You gotta learn theatre. You gotta go to theatre school.
Yeah.
So
Well, you're taught theatre.
yeah,
you're not taught
theatre.
screen.
Exactly.
you're not,
But if
You
I'd
are
been
not
born in
taught-
America, I would never have touched the stage.
Yeah.
Right? I'd have gone straight into like screen.
You don't
Sorry,
get screen training. You get a theatre
You
training.
all got theatre training and not screen training?
Yeah, you don't get screen
You
training.
don't get screen
Really?
training. You are taught how to act
classically
as a
trained.
classically trained theatre
Wow.
school.
Even though I had zero interest, like from the day I joined drama school, why are you here?
And
I'll
that,
be
that's
honest.
not to say there aren't screen training courses. There are, but I'm saying if you go to one of the conservatoire schools in London or in the Royal Welsh or Royal Scottish, these places are theatre trainings. So it is teaching you how to sustain yourself for 8 shows a week.
Yeah.
Going up to RSC, doing that, and then you will get maybe like a term of screen because, and like maybe some, I mean, video games, audio, heaven forfend.
Yeah,
No.
yeah.
Like, no. You'll be doing maybe a BBC audio drama once
But
a
you know
month.
what? They're all the better for it. The games, the shows, the films, they benefit from us being classically trained.
classically
I-
trained.
when I
There
was
is a
talking to-
difference. You can see there is a difference to the way we approach work.
Maggie, who played Lady Dimitrescu in Resident Evil,
Yeah.
is classically trained, had mostly done theatre.
At Lambda, might I add.
She also did go to Lambda. Yeah. And when she was talking about how much theatre she brought to that role and how clearly you can see it in her performance, it's like, oh, it totally paid off. I don't know what else they would have taught you that would have lent positively to that experience, but the theatre totally comes out in that character and that
it's a
atmosphere.
discipline, and it's a lot of things. It's a lot, but like I've also seen how theatre people feel when they get onto like a network show or their heads spin when it's like, it's not about you, mate. It will never be about you. It's about that shot.
Yeah.
You are another last person. Don't fucking ask questions.
When it comes to performance, it's taking a set of skills and tools that combined with your natural instinct, and you just have to modulate whatever it is. Whether you're on a performance capture stage, whether you are in a theatre, whether you're on a in front of a camera, or whether you're behind a microphone, it's the same set of skills modulated at different volumes, and figuring out how to do those and not let some of them get drowned out by others. We started the episode by talking about physicality and how we look, whereas like I think when it comes to video game vocal performance, I'm so fucking physical behind a microphone,
Right.
because it's like, how do I get my body to be in that position? Because often it's reverse engineering reality in voice. It's going, how do I make it seem like I am there when I'm not? So I have to kind of like see how my voice feels. And I've learned that through theatre training. I've learned that through how do I take the artificial and make it seem real in the moment.
Totally.
Whereas like I get to be more personally in it when I'm on a performance capture stage or when I'm in, doing screen, because I'm actually there and I have, some tangible things, or my body is more in tune with my voice at the same time, as opposed to doing that. But I learned that through the theatre training that I had, and also through the repetition and the doing of it.
And also just like the fact that what's the most nerve-wracking thing you could do as an actor? Stand in front of an audience live.
Yeah.
So what's the second most if you're an actor? Like being in front of a new crew and a director and a big machine and performing in front of them, even though it's controlled more. But theatre will always outweigh that nerve. And if you're trained in that, when you do arrive on a set, it's like you've already been through the worst of it and still got through the other side. There's just I don't think there's any downside to it. You and I are going to be mad late.
What time is it?
It's nearly 10 to 8. It was 8:30.
I'm ready.
I'm not. I got a shower, bro.
All right, shall we wrap it up then? The question I was going to ask earlier
talking about
that
sex.
that I'll leave you
Yeah.
on. Yeah, we have a sex
I got a
appointment.
shower.
I've got to light it.
Let's be filthy.
The question I was going to ask earlier when I cut you off was, how often do you get a say in what you look like? So like if we're talking about like you have to show people pictures to prove you're losing weight every week or whatever,
Yeah.
how often do you actually get to say, this is the character description, here's how I think it should
I
look?
don't think I've ever had that.
I've almost always had that because I work with friends.
Fair.
It's the difference.
Yeah, right.
Like Rob, no, actually that's bullshit. I didn't know Rob, but they just gave me free. It depends on the individual.
Yeah.
Rob liked the choices I was making as my first job and was like, yeah, jumpers with the lab coat, with the sleeves.
I know all the
so
Flanagan
fucking
stuff.
lucky.
all of the
He'll
stuff.
really
Yeah,
let you
I've just
talk
been
about
mad.
it.
So that's why when people take it away from me now, that's my
Yeah.
privilege act to spoil. Is like Flanagan has been my championing me for 5 years. And he writes these characters and he's always had these characters in mind or he's doing adaptations. And then, but he's like, what do you got? And I was like, I see this. And if he's not, he'll steer me that way. And then I did the Russo brothers, right? Just recently, we worked together with the Russo, exactly the same. So I've just keep getting spoiled and I'm waiting for them to go, oh no, I have had the ones where I didn't get to decide.
And you hated it.
And now
I
we're
kept
dead.
standing there in costumes I didn't like going, it's your fucking show. I'll be like that, like, yeah,
Very loudly.
yeah, cool. I don't get it, but yeah, sure, whatever. It's your show, mate.
Wow.
I'll go like, I get, yeah.
My only example, VHS Beyond, Kate chose everything. She chose what I wore, she chose my hair, she chose my makeup.
Were you happy about that?
Yeah, because I was like, great.
Great.
Because
Yeah.
I'm so new that my whole thing was just whatever you want
Sure.
is correct.
Yeah.
So
But you
I
also
like I
wanted
had
to
no
deliver
input.
for her, like, you
Yeah,
know,
I just wanted to make her happy. That was my whole
And
job.
you did.
I think so.
Has it
we-
been nominated for
I'm gonna
awards?
go
It
first.
has been nominated for a Critics' Choice Award.
Congratulations.
I got a shower.
Yeah, you go. Go ahead. We can wrap it up with that. Banjo will
Gonna
take
wrap with
over
that
for
one,
you.
Yeah, we'll wrap
Banjo
it up.
will
Alright.
jump in and give his opinion.
You don't. You just for the audiences. You smell very nice.
No, not for a dinner, fancy dinner.
Okay.
Yeah. Thank you very much for having me. Appreciate it.
Why is it so long?
That was so violent.
It lasts so long.
It's like someone released a bear.
It just keeps. Yeah.
There's a bear. There's a bear.
It's in Far Cry.
Yeah, there's a bear.
Yeah, I was saying VHS Beyond, Kate chose everything, and I was okay with it because my whole thing was that, I have been. My job was to make her happy.
Yeah.
And I wasn't at I'm going to craft a character stage. I was like, I'll do whatever you want and whatever you need. And yes, we got nominated for a Critics' Choice Award. Also coming to physical media in February, which Rahul tells me is cool.
Is it coming to vinyl?
Wow, really?
Yeah, it's coming to
Never
Blu-ray.
It's a vinyl
ever
and
comes to
Betamax.
physical.
Yeah, I was like, is that a big deal? And he was like, yeah, that's cool. And I was
It's
like,
a
oh,
huge
great.
deal.
Okay, cool.
I
Great.
think ever comes to physical.
No. We're losing so much media to the streaming giants not wanting to put physical things in, which they own and they can take away from you.
Certainly a games industry problem.
Oh,
Happens
is it
across the
ever?
board. Yeah, real pain in the butt.
Is a pain in the bum?
Yeah. The only other thing that I was going to touch on in this particular episode, but you were all so much more interesting than anything I would have to say, is I have a thing where there are two things that I've been asked to be a part of next year that are both live action, and I think I want to change my hair color for the first time in 10 years.
Ooh.
And I keep
do
being
it.
like, am I allowed?
Yes.
Yes.
But if they've spoken to me about these things early, and then I change my hair,
Well, they'll change it back.
Oh, yeah.
If they don't like it, they'll change it back.
true. That's very difficult to do
Yeah.
with white blonde hair, though. That is quite hard.
I ask them. Just say, is it all right if I change
But what
my
a
hair?
crazy thing to have to do. Ask people who have not yet employed me if I could
Yeah,
change
if
my
you
hair
could
color.
change your hair.
But that is
yeah.
what I think I'll do is be like,
Just a
would
courtesy.
that be okay?
Yeah, just ask.
Just hypothetically. And then if they're like, no, go, well, I'm doing it anyway.
Great. And
Yeah.
then see what happens.
Yeah.
It's just a weird one to even have to think about. Like, I wonder how many actors think about tattoos, right?
All the
Because
time.
if you can't,
Yeah.
you're adding more time
I
for
mean,
yourself to sit in a
it's
chair.
funny. It's like it's one of those ones where like I think there was a period in my life where I did want quite a lot of tattoos, and then I'm seeing people like spending another extra hour, 2 hours,
In makeup.
Yeah.
3 hours in the makeup chair, and I'm like, I'm all right,
Yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm like, yeah. So I
Like
kind of-
Lena Headey, right? Famously
Oh,
Yeah.
covered in
God.
tattoos.
Yeah. So yeah, so I'm just a bit like, okay, I'm just,
We had to cover the bat symbol that's on the back of my neck just in case it appeared on camera.
Really?
Never did. Not even one time.
Right.
Wasn't even close, but we had to cover it. So I had a
Always got to be careful.
terrible butterfly, like tramp stamp looking thing that they were putting over the top of the Batman on the back of my neck.
It looked classy though.
It looked terrible, but you never saw it.
No.
Actually, I think it probably looked fine, but I wouldn't call a butterfly tramp stamp classy personally.
I don't know. It depends on what your taste is.
Yeah, what kind of butterfly?
Big one.
There you go.
What's a slutty butterfly?
Ulysses.
Is that true?
What does the Ulysses?
No, because you just said that
it's
so quick.
bright
Yeah,
blue,
that was like
flaunty.
Okay. So right now, this is again great content. Butterflies. I know nothing of these things.
Oh.
I don't know different types. I just know that
Oh.
I would say that's a butterfly.
Yeah, okay.
What's a slutty butterfly and what's a classy butterfly?
Ulysses is
And
slutty.
what's a classy butterfly?
I don't know enough about the species, but I would say any of the ones that are like brown with the little fake eyes on the wings. Raul, you've come back to a very different show. Things have changed since you've been gone. Ulysses is bright blue. They're like
That's not
it's
slutty.
It's slutty because the whole function is attention seeking.
Cinderella went to the ball. Would you call her slutty?
Yes.
damn.
Wow.
Okay.
Slut.
Wow. Here we go.
Now you've had all the acting takes that you're here for, everybody. And on that
It
note,
descends. This is what you really. This is what acting 101 is usually about.
yeah, I know we were so serious.
We
This
got
episode.
we got into some beef.
Yeah.
Not as in beef, but as in it was a
But as
beefy
in,
episode.
yeah,
It was
Yeah,
a,
I
it
was
was
like,
a
did
meaty
we?
episode.
Were we in
Yeah,
a
I was like,
fight?
who are you fighting?
Remember
Are
when
we
we all
okay?
argued? Remember had that big argument? We fought to the
Did I
death.
lose that?
Yeah.
And now we're back.
Butterflies,
From that
right?
thing that I just cut. Well, thank you guys for hanging out in person. Again,
Thanks.
don't know how the Game Awards was, but I was in something that was announced. Ben was also.
Yes, I was.
And Absy Babsy, you may have won an award.
May have.
Who
I don't
knows?
Really think so, but
I hope
yeah,
you
sure.
do.
We'll see. We'll see.
Who knows?
Who knows?
Yeah.
They do.
They do.
Yeah, you guys do.
They do
How
know.
did we do?
Yeah.
Did you like
Did you
our
like our
announcements?
announcements?
Did you,
that we
did you-
had?
Did you like the award I didn't win?
Were you excited about the award
Yeah.
that he may or may not have won?
Who knows?
Guess we'll find out next time when we
Yeah.
read the comments.
Maybe will we talk about the Game Awards the next episode or
Yeah, I would
experiencing
say
them?
we should. Why
Yeah.
not?
Yeah,
I know,
because I
it's
think
out of date, but
I think that's an interesting topic to talk about, like award
Yeah.
shows in general and relationships with them
totally.
is an interesting thing.
Yeah, totally.
Not
Let's
for
do it.
now.
No.
We haven't even been to them yet.
No, we have nothing to say. What can we possibly have to say?
Next time
We're sitting
on
on this
Acting
couch.
101.
Beautiful. And cut.